everybody, welcome back. So we've been sharing our birth stories over the last couple of weeks, and so today it's my turn again. So I'm going to share the birth story of my second daughter, Wren. So I know that I shared with you guys that for me, my birth with my first baby was pretty traumatic for me, even though I ended up having a natural birth. The transfer to the hospital was traumatic for me. Getting a vacuum extraction was traumatic for me. And it was also traumatic for me realizing how little voice I had in the moment because your brain's not working the same way, and I wasn't able to speak up for myself even when I knew things that I wanted. So with my second birth, I got pregnant very, very unexpectedly, and I was not mentally prepared to be pregnant. I was not mentally prepared to give birth again. I wasn't mentally prepared to have a newborn again. It was a big, big surprise. So I went into it after I got over the initial shock, that I'm going to really prepare myself mentally and emotionally this time, and I'm going to really surround myself with the people that I want to have around me that really understand what's going on, and I'm going to do everything that I can to have a better birth and get what I want. So I was so happy at that time. I had always wanted Amy and Desiree from 10 Moons Midwifery to be my midwives, and they were practicing together at that time. So I immediately hired them, and I was so excited to do that because I absolutely love them and how they practice. And I started really early going over some of my trauma that I had, journaling about it, doing hypnobabies tracks, trying to replace trauma with good thoughts and intentions. And I did this throughout my whole pregnancy, and I really think that made a big difference. I saw a chiropractor in my pregnancy, really hoping I can get baby's position good and have everything working right in my body for everything to go as well as it possibly could. So I was pregnant a lot longer with my second pregnancy than with my first, which is a whole nother mental ball game. So I had my first baby at 38 weeks and 5, well, it ended up being 38 weeks and 6 days, or 39 weeks and 6 days, sorry, right before 40 weeks. With my second one, I went to 41 and 4, so I was almost 42 weeks. And that's a really weird place to be at, because especially when you're having a home birth, because it's like for a whole month you're like keeping your house clean and you're ready any moment.
Yeah.
And your birth pool's set up, and I swear the day I finally went into labor, I had been doing all this stuff to have everything ready, and the day I finally went into labor, I woke up. It was actually really shocked. So my daughter, I nursed my daughter. She was still nursing when I went into labor with my second baby, and she had never slept through the night. So this was the first time she had slept through the night in her own bed. So I woke up at 6 a.m. It was a beautiful morning. It was September 1st. I had been pregnant all summer, which I loved, and a lot of people don't, but I did. I love going to the pool in my bikini and showing off my belly. Yeah, doing dives off the diving board and freaking everyone out. So it was September 1st, and I love summer, so I didn't want to miss any of my summer. So I maybe that's why my body waited. So I woke up at 6 a.m. and I was just feeling super happy and super refreshed. It was a beautiful day out, and I just remember thinking, like, today's the day. Like, this is the day it's going to happen. And I started contractions soon after. I think I woke up my husband at like 8 in the morning, and I was like, I think today's the day. Let's go for a walk. And so we went for a walk around the neighborhood with Lila, who was 2 at the time, and I would stop and have contractions along the way. I ended up, so my daughter, she wakes up and she's 2, so funny. I'd been keeping my house clean for almost an entire month, preparing for my birth. And we wake up and Lila comes to me and she goes, Mom, our house is really dirty. And you know, if your 2-year-old notices that your house is dirty, like, your house is legit dirty. And so I called my mom and I was like, Mom, I think I'm in labor. My house is disgusting. Can you come over and help me clean it before everyone gets here? Like, my contractions are still light. I'll help you. And my mom, being like the amazing doula birth helper that she is like, yeah, I'll be right there. So excited. So she gets there, and I had finished my walk, and I'm like, okay, I'm going to help you clean. She's like, okay. And then I was like, no, I'm not. Because my contractions were starting to pick up a little bit. So I spent actually like an hour by myself in my bedroom, just sitting on a birth ball, leaning over my bed. And I called my birth team, ended up getting there at around 11 in the morning, and contractions still weren't like super intense. I was walking around. I have videos of me just walking around with my belly out, and Lila was just like running around naked. I was reading her story and drinking a glass of water, and they're like, so is this how it's been? I'm like, yeah, this is how it's been. And so like 30 minutes after they got there, my contractions got much more intense. I was leaning over my birth ball, and I remember looking up, and everything was kind of like weird and like fuzzy, which I realized later was endorphins.
Right.
And stuff was about to happen.
Yeah.
So I guess this was about at like 12:30, and it got really intense really fast. So I moved to the birth pool, and by 2, I was having like contractions, crazy close together contractions, just like no break, super intense. And that's a hard place too when you've had a really long labor, because you still think that you're going to be in labor that long. It's really hard to wrap your brain around the fact that you might not be.
Right.
And so I got checked at like 2. No, I got checked at 3. And I was 5 centimeters, which I was like, oh man, this is super intense. I can't believe I'm only 5 centimeters. Yeah. But from there, it was kind of like insanity. It was like being hit by a labor truck. And I went from 5 centimeters to my baby being born in the next 20 minutes. Wow. So it was really crazy for me. You feel so many more things when that happens. I could feel her body like moving down every step of the way. She came right out in the pool. My husband was behind me because, again, I had doulas there, and he was planning on catching. But she actually came, like, she flew right up to me, and I actually, like, picked her up and brought her on my chest. And I was just, in my video I was just like, I did it. Like, I was so happy that I could actually do it. It was so healing from my first birth, knowing that my body could do it, and knowing that birth could be that way. Still super hard, super intense, but such an amazing experience. And everyone that was there, for my second time, I was surrounded by women, other than my mother and my husband's mother, who was there watching Lila, because Lila was there and my nieces were there to see the birth. I was surrounded by women who have all had natural home births, from the photographer to the videographer to my midwives. So I really felt like I was surrounded by people that just really got it, and the energy was amazing. So it was such an amazing experience. I learned a lot, again, from that, because a lot of people think that faster births are easier births, and they're not.
False.
Yeah. Faster births are great because they're faster, but they're super intense.
And you don't know why, like, when you're having a fast birth, that it's a fast birth. You just think in that moment, I don't know how much longer I can do this.
How can I do this? And I always tell people, if you're saying that to yourself, it's probably because you're not going to have to do it
very long, much
longer. But it's one of the hardest things about labor is that you don't know.
The mental game.
You don't know how long it's going to be. So I always tell people, get that out of your head. Like, how long it's going to be. Just be in every contraction right in that moment, because your labor could be over in 20 minutes or your labor could be over in 24 hours. Yeah. And that's really hard. But once you let go of that, it actually goes a lot better, and you get out of your head, and you release better hormones that help your labor go faster. And before you know, you have a baby, and that was almost 7 years ago. It'll be 7 years in September, and I can't believe how fast it's gone. So you guys can do it. Labor's hard. I always say you can do anything for a minute, being contractions, and you can do anything for a day or even 2 days if you have a really long labor. And then before you know it, it's just a memory. So you just get through it, and you find your strength. So many pregnant women, and even myself, I look back on what I did, and I'm like, how did I keep going through that? But we have this well of untapped strength in us that we don't even realize we have until you tap into it. And we're amazing no matter what kind of birth you have. We as mamas are amazing, and we're strong, and our bodies are meant to do it, and we're meant to be moms. So yeah, that's what I learned from my birth stories. So thanks for listening in, and next time we will be hearing about Marielle's second birth.
Yeah.
So thanks.